Maurice Dubois, and we're excited that he's here with us. And to begin the program, we'll ask Mr. Jeffrey Sigler to share with us moments of reflection. Mr. Sigler.
Good afternoon, scholars. All right. This point in the program, I'm going to let you know why we actually come here together in such a fashion for this event called the Presidential Lecture Series. The Presidential Lecture Series invites a broad range of highly accomplished men and women from the professional, academic, artistic, and political worlds to dialogue with the Medgar College community on issues of historical and contemporary importance. By providing a forum for the free exchange of ideas and issues, the college continues its mission of promoting intellectual curiosity, political engagement, and social commitment. Originally conceived as part of the freshman year program, the Presidential Lecture Series has now become a college-wide program, welcoming students from every academic discipline. That the stated purpose of the series is to expose the entire student population to an array of individuals whose experience, commitment, and multicultural perspectives will serve as an inspiration to those in the college community. As the explosion of the 21st century technologies makes ever-increasing amounts of information available, it becomes imperative that our students and our communities learn to wield these powerful tools to keep their voices, their images, their truths actively engaged in global humanist discourses. The authors, journalists, entrepreneurs, politicians, and public servants, scientists, and medical professionals, and all the other individuals who contribute to our lives and our histories show our students that success can and will be theirs. In sharing their knowledge and their strategies for success, Presidential Lecture Series speakers teach our students how to use the resources they have within themselves to stay committed to their goals. Medgar College, through its presentation of the Presidential Lecture Series, reaffirms its commitment to excellence, to the transformative powers of education, and to providing our students with the inspiration and tools they need to realize their personal visions. Welcome. And now, accompanied by Professor Glenn McMillan from our music department, is our soloist, a fellow student, Mr. George Oliver.
Good afternoon. First of all, let me say, again, my name is George Oliver. I am originally from Dallas, Texas, now a resident here proudly of Brooklyn. We are coming as a representative of the Imani Singers, who will be opening late registration beginning Monday at 6 p.m. We ask all interested to please come by. We hope that there are many of you who will join us in lifting up music here at Medgar College. of this world, but give me Jesus. Dark midnight was my cry. Dark midnight was my cry. Dark midnight was my cry. Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. You may have all of this world, but give me Jesus. Plenty good room in my Father's kingdom. Plenty good room, just to choose your seat and sit down. Oh, plenty good room in my Father's kingdom. Plenty good room, just to choose your seat and sit down. I would not be a backslider. I tell you the reason why. 'Cause if my Lord should call on me, I wouldn't be ready to die. Plenty good room in my Father's kingdom. Plenty good room, just to choose your seat and sit down. Hallelujah, brother, plenty good room in my Father's kingdom. Plenty good room, just to choose your seat and sit down. I would not be a sinner. I tell you the reason why. 'Cause if my Lord should call on me, I wouldn't be ready to die. Plenty good room in my Father's kingdom. Plenty good room. So just choose your seat and sit on down.
Thank you, Mr. George Oliver and Professor Macmillan. You heard the announcement. They are looking for singers. So why don't you join the Armani Singers? They have an open registration, and we encourage you to join this award-winning group of individuals. They go all over the world. If you want to travel, but you got to sing. You got to work for your travel. They have distinguished themselves in a mighty powerful way, and they represent Medgar College in such a way that they're great ambassadors for this institution. So we encourage those of you who have the gift to sing to join them. It is now my honor and privilege to introduce our guest lecturer for this noon hour. It is my honor and a privilege to introduce Dr. Maurice Dubois, award-winning actor. He co-anchors CBS 2 News this morning, weekdays from 5 to 7 a.m., along with Kate Sullivan. He joined WCBS TV in September 2004, and at CBS News, he substitutes as news anchor for the weekend edition of the CBS Evening News and the Saturday Early Show. A Long Island native, Dr. Dubois spent several years at WNBC TV and co-anchored Today in New York before joining WCBS TV. He's also anchored many live breaking news events and hosted numerous specials on topics ranging from kids and violence to parades and telethons, and at NBC News, he substituted as news anchor for Today and Weekend Today, and had filled in as co-host of Weekend Today. He is also reporter for Dateline NBC and substituted as news anchor at MSNBC and NBC News at Sunrise. While at WNBC TV, Dr. Dubois also hosted 4 Stories, a magazine featuring community heroes. He also hosted special programming for court TV called Mind Over Media for students to understand media images. Previously, Dr. Dubois was an anchor reporter for WFLD TV in Chicago and in Sacramento, and he began his early career in 1987 at King's TV in Seattle, Washington. He has won several journalism and community awards, including 4 Emmys, the Associated Press, and in Chicago, a New York Association of Black Journalism, from whom he received a Trailblazer Award, and they have also recognized him. He's involved in a wide range of community organizations and serves on the board of directors for the North Side Center for Child Development. Dr. Dubois is a recipient of honorary doctorate from Seton Hall University, and yes, yours truly, Medgar Evers College. He's also earned a bachelor's in journalism from Northwestern University, and he and his wife live in Manhattan, New York. Students, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce our guest lecturer to you, Dr. Maurice Dubois.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Is this thing on? Thank you so much, Dr. Jackson. Can you hear me? Which mic we're going to use? This one or this one? How about this one? Is it on? No. This never happens at Channel 2. The mics always work. How's that? I think we can hear it now, right? Kind of? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jackson. What a privilege. I got to tell you, it is truly a special thing to come back to Medgar Evers and to be with you on this day. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. I hope to leave a little piece of me with you today. Hope to shed a little bit of light, maybe inspire somebody, provoke a few questions, and make this interactive. I want you to talk to me so I can talk to you. I don't want to sit here and go on and on too long and have you leave without having gotten anything out of it, okay? So we want to make this interactive. I encourage your questions. As I listen to that bio, sometimes I wonder, is that somebody else he's talking about? Today I received in the mail a picture of myself and the First Lady of the United States. I did an interview at the White House about a month ago. And that's something that I could never have dreamed of as something I would end up doing in my career some 20 plus years ago. Last thing I would ever imagine. But a photo of me in the White House, the First Lady, getting an honorary degree from Medgar Evers. I'm just a kid from Long Island with families from the Caribbean. And, this was something as far away to me as a man on the moon, being on television. It just wasn't anything that was tangible. It didn't seem obvious that there was a path to doing this, that it was attainable. But I stand before you, product of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, a supportive family, a faith in God, and a belief in myself, ultimately, that got me along the path that I'm on right now. Question, How many people here want to be in the media, broadcasting, news, journalism, radio, anything like that? Hands? Anybody? One or two? Three or four? We got a handful? How many people want to be in internet, want to be in that sort of world, working on the internet and creating content? Got a couple here. How about the entertainment business? That's where the hands always come up. Okay, we have some of those too. It's interesting because everything is changing these days, as you all well know. You all are growing up in an amazing time of change. But when I started out, it was literally 20 years ago. And I got to tell you, my first live shot, you know, I was on the air in Seattle, and I was sort of a training reporter, a trainee. I hadn't been there very long. I had gotten there after college. I had begged them to put me on the air. They put me on TV, and here I was standing outside doing a live shot. And I got to tell you, this is not something that's natural to me. It's always amazing to me when people are very complimentary of my work. They say it appears natural. It appears you're fairly smooth. You know what you're doing. You're in control of what you do. Well, it wasn't always that way. The first time I ever did a live shot, it was simply the 4th of July. I was covering fireworks, which really is not that hard, right? It's not much to it. But I was nervous as hell itself. And I'm standing out there, you know, with a plan in my head. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to talk to him, talk to her, and then, you know, back to you. Well, it's the 11 o'clock news. I'm standing out there in the dark. The lights are on me. There's a crowd behind the cameraman. He's sitting there looking into the lens. Obviously, I'm seeing all the wrong things, right? I shouldn't be seeing any of that stuff. I should be focused on what I'm doing, but I'm not. I'm nervous. My mouth is dry. My heart is pounding. And, you know, I'm just sort of pacing through what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do. And at the time of the newscast, the fireworks had not yet begun. But part of my plan was to talk about the fireworks. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I'm hearing it in my ear, the anchorman. Good evening, Seattle. Maurice Dubois is down at the fireworks display. Happy 4th of July. How's it going? Fireworks haven't started. I don't know what I'm going to do. I sat there like this. The producers are yelling in my ear, talk, say anything. I'm just like, you know, taking hits in my ear. Froze up, freaked out, scared, disoriented, right? No idea what I'm doing. The tape rolls, the little sound bites come on, I mumble something, back to you. Pretty much figured my career's over just before it started. I mean, that's a shame, isn't it? But it happened, and it happened live on the air, and hopefully no one ever finds that tape. But it's got to be the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened, probably in the history of the business. No, not really the history, but in my career it was. It was simply, you know, the second time really I got to be live on the air, and I completely blew it. And I was embarrassed. I mean, I remember I went home, you know, I saw the young lady I was dating. I asked her if she saw it. She said no. She lied because she didn't want to tell me that. She told me years later. Yeah, I saw it. You know, the next day I come into the office. Everyone's looking at the tape. And I walk into the room. Everyone tries to act like they're not looking at it. And it had to be the worst experience you've ever had. And somehow I had a decision to make. I had to decide, am I going to quit? Am I going to go forward? And you know the answer to that. So, you know, there's an obvious lesson there that everyone is going to fail. Everyone is going to mess something up. But you have to sort of balance a belief in yourself with, you know, whether you have the ability to do this. And now I was pretty sure I had the ability to speak. It's just whether I could do it in front of people on television, I had to convince myself a little better. So I had to work my tail off at it to make it appear somewhat natural. So now, you fast forward to today, I have this job where I get to wake up New York City in the morning from 5 to 7 a.m. Now, honestly, how many of you students here have ever seen a 5 to 7 a.m. newscast? Whoa, come on now. How many of you are telling the truth? Really? Well, is that from you're coming home from the night before, or, I mean, how does that work? You all up that early? Yeah. You must be commuting to get here. That must be what it is. Okay, 5 a.m. That's how many watch Channel 2? All right. So how many are going to start watching Channel 2? Come on. Come on now. Well, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed that many of you all up that hour watching news. Because when I was in college, I didn't wake up till like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And my classes were in the afternoon. That was just me. But it's funny. I have this job where I get to wake up New York City each and every day. And to me, it's not work. To me, what I do is fun. And they pay me to do this. I mean, I shouldn't really say that, but it's true. And that's, I think, a very healthy way to look at a career is that it's fun. I don't get, I mean, honestly, I get up at 3:30 in the morning, which is pretty ridiculous, right? But once you get past that hurdle, the work itself is pure joy. And I think if you're able to look at work that way, you are about 95% home. And, you know, there's so many things we have to deal with in a career that if you enjoy the work like that, you're in great shape. I mean, how many of us know or have relatives or our own parents grew up and struggled and dealt with that sort of thing? You know, they got to go to work because they got you and they need to make sure that you're in good shape. You know, you make ends meet. But in our case, you guys have a chance to grow up and to form a career that's going to work for you. You're in the driver's seat. So that's sort of how I look at my work. My career has gone from Seattle to Sacramento to Chicago to New York. 20 years in this business. And I've interviewed, kings and queens, pimps and preachers, politicians, good guys and bad guys, some of the best and the worst society has to offer. And, each step of the way to me has been a whole lot of fun. So I can't stress enough that you find something you love and you never feel like you're working a day in your life. There are politics, there are people, there are, situations to deal with. There always are going to be, and you deal with that as best you can. But if the work is great, you can work with that. So many things I could tell you, so many different ways I could go. Most people ask me what was the most amazing story you've ever seen, or what was the most incredible story. Outside of 9/11, the thing that struck me the most was covering a double execution. How about that, right? I mean, that's not something uplifting, no, but it's an amazing thing as a reporter. I was in Illinois at the time, at Stateville Penitentiary, and they march you in. They take all your stuff from you, give you a pencil and a notepad, and you're presented with, you're eventually marched into a little room called an execution house, and they whip open a curtain and you see a man there lying there and he tells his story, and they simply put him to sleep. I saw that play itself out twice in one night. It's an unbelievable thing. Other stories I've covered. The Rodney King riots in Southern California. I've covered political conventions, AIDS in South Africa, the death of Pope John Paul II, and the reinstallation of Benedict XVI. That was just a couple years ago. Covered some sports, some entertainers, interviewed, people from, I don't know, Felix Unger, Tony Randall to Diddy Combs, and to all kinds of people in between. So, I don't know what his name is anymore, because he was Sean for a minute, and then, you know how it goes. So somewhere all in between. I think if anything I've learned in 20 years, it's this. And for those of you who raised your hand and said that you seriously are considering going into this kind of work, I think that the future is murky at best. I think everybody's uncertain where broadcasting, where the internet, and where they're all converging to and where they're all going to in the future. And I think the most important thing I can leave you with is this. A lot of the education system in this country, a lot of our sort of reflexive sort of grasp of education and getting a job and having a career is just that. It's reflexive, and it's about getting a job. Getting a job. We are trained or sort of brought up to believe that getting a job is going to lead you to the American dream, to some sort of level of prosperity, to a happy life, when it may. But I think we need to sort of change the mindset. We need to change the model. We need to start thinking, especially as black folks, especially as African Americans, in terms of owning the shop, of calling the shots, of being the person who is doing the hiring, who is saying, I can give you a job, you can come work for me. We need to think that way, because too often we're caught up in a sort of a, ultimately not the winning situation. It may not be a losing one, but you're sort of going to stay neutral. You're going to stay treading water. If you're not the guy or the woman who owns the joint, you're going to be more vulnerable down the road. And I think in broadcasting right now, throughout all the media, there's a whole lot of turmoil, and newspapers as well. Newspapers are shrinking because of the threat of the internet, and jobs are being lost. Television is sort of tightening up as well, television news, but the internet is growing. So where it all ends up, we're not really certain, but we are certain that the guys who made Google, they're doing pretty well. The guys who did Yahoo, they're doing okay too. The people behind Bossip.com or AllHipHop.com, they're doing really well too. So if anything, I will stand here and plead with you to think about starting your own thing or partnering with your own thing. If you look at all the models of people who've been successful in this country, in this city, where there's so much entrepreneurial spirit, it started out with dreams and ideas. Just this morning, we had the woman on our show who's behind the Zagat survey, the whole restaurant thing. Now, this was a lawyer. She and her husband, both lawyers, and years ago, they were out looking for restaurants to go to, and they came up with this sheet, this guide, that eventually became this book, this guide, which is the Bible for people who go to restaurants. Just an idea, an everyday need that they saw that needed to be filled, and they made it happen. Just another idea. They became masters of their own destiny. And ultimately, that's a great way to go. So, 20 years in the business, I've seen some of everything. So I'm sure you may or may not have some questions, and I'd love to take them from you. Yes, ma'am.
Throughout your whole 20 years in the business,
Mhm.
have you ever given up, or if not, what kept you going?
Have I ever given up?
Yeah.
I was about to right out of the box. Some say I should have. No, I've never given up. I've never quit, never felt the need to quit. That's never even crossed my mind. No. Yeah, follow up?
What made you decide that you wanted to become an anchor?
How did I get into this business? What made me decide? You know what? I got into this business because in high school, of all places, my dad suggests, he has a microphone now. She wants to know how I got into the business. My dad actually suggested that I take a journalism class in high school. They had never offered it before. Took the class, loved it. And it was about newspaper writing. Loved to write, found out that that was my thing. I loved going out, asking people questions and getting paid to learn, put a story together, see my name on the front page of the paper, this local newspaper out on Long Island. It was an incredible thing. So newspapers led to going to college for journalism, found the best journalism school I could, went to it, just checked everything out from PR to newspapers to radio to television, and television just sort of like, there was a sort of it was a thing. I really enjoyed it. I took to it. The writing was really, it came to me. It's hard to really describe, but it didn't feel like work. Again, it felt easy. It was like, hey, I can do this. This is fun. Got a kick out of it. And got my first job with the help of a professor who helped me get my first job in Seattle. So.
Do you plan on doing this for the rest of your life?
Do I plan on doing this for the rest of my life?
Hello?
There you go. Now it's on. Do I plan to do this for the rest of my life? I don't plan anything beyond tomorrow. I don't know. Tomorrow is not promised, but I hope to be the best I can at it, and who knows? Who really does know? We can talk about it in several years. Yes, sir? Oh, we got to go with the microphone? Okay. Go ahead.
Is there like a competition out there?
Oh, is it competitive?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's cutthroat. Very cutthroat. But you know what? Anything worthwhile is going to be competitive. Everything is. Name a business that's not competitive, and I got to wonder why I'd be in it. You know? Everything is. Yes, sir. Oh, are we doing the microphone? We're doing the microphone. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, in your 20 years of experience, have you faced racial discrimination?
Absolutely.
And are you still continuing to
Absolutely.
face racial
I
discrimination?
live in America, right?
Yeah. And how do you overcome that every day?
I don't know if I overcome that every day. We deal with it. I've been in every situation, overt, covert, how can you know, how can you tell? I've been in it all. And I think we all sort of have to, we center ourselves, we rely on our friends and family, we rely on our spouses. You know, it's America. I think you know what I mean when I say that. And so there are legal channels. I've never been in a legal situation. It's never been, you know, it's never been an overt to your face kind of thing. That's been on the anchor desk. What do you mean, with the people I work with? That's a trick. That's a trick question. Let me just say again that I live in America. But I get along with the people I work with, and they're perfectly, you know, they're fine. They're great people. But we're in America. So.
Good day, Mr. Dubois. It's a
Yes,
pleasure
ma'am.
to be in your presence.
Thank you.
And I'm pretty sure the turtle felt the same way the other day.
You were watching.
Yes, sir. My question is,
You want to tell the class what we're talking about?
on his way home, he came up on a big lump that looked like a rock in the middle of the road, which was actually a turtle, and he was stunned. He pulled over to get the turtle out of the road, but a lady forced him to it. So not only is he good at doing what he does, he's also, you know, yes.
Don't want to run over animals.
What recent interview did you conduct that you felt most satisfied with the outcome?
What recent interview was most
One-on-one
satisfactory?
interview.
Boy, that's a really good question. There are many. I don't know about recent. It'll take me a second to think. But I can tell you that one of my favorite interview subjects used to be around this neighborhood a lot. And it's the wife of Jackie Robinson, Rachel Robinson. She's one of my favorite people in the city. One of my favorite people I've ever met. Just an amazing lady. Jackie Robinson broke the color line right down the street, right? And to speak with Rachel Robinson on a regular basis is, I mean, it's like talking to a page out of history. It really is a special thing. And what she's done is she's created a foundation for young people to go to college. And she did it right after her husband died. And to be in her presence on a regular basis is amazing. I once had her come on the air at 6 o'clock in the morning. And she doesn't do that often, doesn't do that for many people. And the woman just turned 80 years old. And she's got more energy than most people in this room. So it's really incredible to be around her and to be in her presence. So that's one that comes to mind right away. Yes.
In the beginning of your career, what was your inspiration?
My inspiration in the beginning of my career was really, it was a dream. It's hard to put into words. It's just a sort of a sense that, hey, I can do that. I want to do that, and I want to do it well, and I think I can do that as well as the next person. I don't know if it was a person or anything other than that.
All right. Did you ever think you would get this
What, I
far?
wasn't- Huh?
Did you ever think you would get this far?
You know what? I don't think I'm as far as I want to get. I never am.
Okay.
I'm never done. I'm never satisfied. There's a whole room here. We're only going with one row. Does anybody else in that row have a question? Huh? Yes, sir.
Hi. Okay.
Go ahead.
Being that you're part of the media industry, what would be one thing you would change for good?
What would I change for good forever? Or
Yeah, forever. Like it's.
I would change immediately the sort of composition of management to be more reflective of the population, to have more people of color in it. Right away, there needs to be. Because, I mean, particularly in a city like this, What percentage are we people of color? I can't remember right now. Like half? More than half. It's a quote-unquote minority-majority city, right? Majority minorities. But you look at industry, and you look at business, and you look at Wall Street. You look at all the big businesses that generate the big revenue, where people of color aren't necessarily there. I would change that. I would change it right away. People ask this question often: how come you do so many stories about people of color in crime situations and not in good situations? Well, hopefully you don't see it that way on our program in the morning. Hopefully you see a mix. Hopefully you see a fair reflection. Because, I mean, at the least I could do, the very least I could do, if I weren't doing it, I would be ashamed of myself, would to have a lot of input on the sort of story selection and the kinds of things we do. I mean, this morning, the big news is what happened at Columbia. You all heard about this one? Hanging nooses on a professor's door. It's unbelievable, right? So, so you make sure that a story like that is covered with prominence. You make sure that the Gina 6 gets covered. And it wasn't getting covered early on, and we made sure that got on the air. That kind of thing is important.